Right now, tensions on college campuses are rising across the country. More students are demanding businesses cut financial ties to Israel as a sign of support for Palestinian human rights. President Biden and Israel's prime minister spoke over the weekend. Brie Jackson has more on how that call went between the two leaders.
During their phone call, President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu reviewed hostage and ceasefire discussions. The two leaders also spoke about humanitarian aid in Gaza, as well as ongoing concerns about a potential Israeli offensive in the city of Rafah, a move that the U.S. opposes. Pro-Palestinian protests continue at college campuses across the country. Students calling for an end to the ongoing Israel-Hamas war and pushing for schools to stop funding companies tied to Israel. While many of these protests remain peaceful, there are concerns about safety and hate speech.
People have a right to protest and make their views known, and almost, overwhelming percentages of people do that peacefully. But there are those who intimidate or harass others.
I think it's a dangerous situation. You said pro-Palestinian. There's also anti-Semitism, which is completely unacceptable.
President Biden faces criticism from within his own party, people upset with his support for Israel.
Right now, what Netanyahu's right-wing, extremist, and racist government is doing is unprecedented in the modern history of warfare.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken returning to the Middle East today as part of the administration's push to broker a ceasefire deal.
We want it to last for about 6 weeks. It would allow for all those hostages to get out and, of course, to allow for easier aid access to places in Gaza.
Families of those still held by Hamas urging action after Hamas released this video showing two hostages, including American-Israeli Keith Siegel. The undated video marks the first time they've been seen during more than 200 days of captivity. And Sunday's conversation between President Biden and Netanyahu comes less than a month after the two leaders spoke following an Israeli airstrike that killed 7 humanitarian workers. In Washington, Brie Jackson, NBC News.
World Central Kitchen is set to resume its humanitarian operations in Gaza after Israeli airstrikes killed 7 workers earlier this month. The group has more than 200 trucks ready. They have supplies to deliver almost 8 million meals. The plan is for the trucks to enter Gaza through neighboring Jordan and the city of Rafah. Israel has threatened to invade Rafah for weeks. World Central Kitchen has delivered almost 43 million meals before the workers were killed on April 1st. The group now says it's looking to add new sea routes to bring supplies into the region.